Well, in the very currently relevant words, or rather lyrics of 50 Cent, Brandon, I'm the greatest, something like Ali in his prime. And that appears to be the case for this Oklahoma defense because it may just be the greatest defense in the nation. The Sooners advanced to 9-2 today here at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium with a 17-6 victory over number 23 Missouri. And it was kind of an ugly game, not kind of, it was an ugly game. 17-6 in today's day and age is generally going to be pretty ugly.
Yeah.
But before we get into what Oklahoma can do and ultimately has to do better on offense if they're to make any sort of run in the college football playoff or even get there and squeak past LSU next week, Brandon, we have to discuss this defense because I think we know now where Oklahoma's identity lies. And the arrow has been pointing in this direction for quite some time. I think we've all kind of figured, okay, there's one unit that is stronger than the other on this football team. But we now know what the recipe for victory looks like for this football team. You're going to lean on your defense. You're going to lean on special teams. They're going to take care of business, and you're going to count on this offense to do just enough. Oklahoma's defense was fantastic today for all 60 minutes.
They were unbelievable. I was looking, trying to find the final stats, but they most certainly didn't get 300 yards.
They did not.
And that was kind of the benchmark, right? You don't want anybody to cross 300 yards for Oklahoma because your offense struggles to get there right now. I know I say that jokingly, but I'm being serious. Look, the offense showed flashes today, and I think that's kind of the deal. But that's been what they've done the last few weeks as well. Is you see where the offense could be, but there's no consistency with it. So that's why you lean on this defense. That's why you lean on the special teams. And we talked about in the pregame podcast. We talked about it all week. It's going to be the defense, and there's going to be a special teams play that's going to make a significant moment in the game. Peyton Bowen's block changed the momentum for Missouri. They were starting to get rolling offensively. That kind of stopped it. Oklahoma capitalized, and everything kind of changed after that.
Capitalized in an explosive manner with their longest offensive play from scrimmage of the season. John Mateer hits Isaiah Satania over the middle. Satania turns on the afterburners. And a few seconds later, he's crossing the goal line with an 87-yard touchdown to give Oklahoma.
For that, too, by the way.
Explain.
Well, he got a personal foul that was just stupid, but at the same time, 87 yards doesn't happen if he doesn't get that personal foul. It felt like that was like a big moment, right? That it wasn't going to be able to, they weren't going to be able to, I guess, recover from that personal foul.
You couldn't have scripted a much worse offensive first quarter for Oklahoma. They had 2 drives. They went 3 and out on both drives. They managed a grand total of -7 yards. So Oklahoma started very poorly on that side of the ball, but all that defense had to do was keep them within striking distance, and they did. And at a certain point, we see this time and again with this football team, I suppose with the exception of the Texas game, at a certain point, the offense is going to figure it out, at least for the span of a single drive. And in that case, a single play. The Sooners did add another touchdown drive later in the second quarter and went to halftime with a 14-6 lead. Tate Sandell kicks a 45-yard field goal less than, or I should say just over 3 minutes into the second half, and that was it. There was no further scoring. There were no points scored over the last 26 minutes of this football game, and that's because Brent Venables and this staff were content to play chess. The recipe seemed very cut and dried. You were going to make some progress on offense, win the field position battle. Grayson Miller was going to pin Missouri deep, and your defense was going to tighten up and lock down. And that's exactly what happened time and again in the second half. Missouri's 7 second-half drives, punt, punt, interception, punt, punt, turnover on downs, interception. That's how it went for the Tigers.
The funny thing is Missouri thought they were going to be able to play just like that versus Oklahoma to start the game. And that's Eli Drinkwitz is such a analytical type of coach when he makes decisions. So there was a lot of the sequence that led up to the blocked field goal where he lines up and Oklahoma calls timeout. Or no, he calls timeout. They come back out. They line up again. Oklahoma calls timeout. Then he comes back out because he realizes Oklahoma knows what they're about to do. So, and they were in the perfect setup as far as defensive, the formation went and everything like that. So they just go ahead and we're just going to kick the field goal. They hate Missouri hates kicking field. 75% on fourth downs all year. That was a 4th and 2.5. They go for that 99.9% of the time, and he read into his analytics. He overthought himself, and it cost them as far as momentum, and they never got it back. As a matter of fact, that to me was probably the biggest turning point in the game, along with obviously Jacoby Johnson's interception after Reggie Powers III got kicked out for targeting. Those sequences, I think, kind of changed the whole dynamic of the ball game, Parker.
Owen Heineke was fantastic today, as he has been for much of the season, but thought he was one of the shining stars today for Oklahoma on defense. Grayson Halton with a career high in tackles. But man, it feels like the guy that we stand here and talk about every single week is a guy that's making serious noise at this point for all SEC consideration, and that is Taylor Wine. Taylor Wine is an animal for this Oklahoma defense up front.
Yeah, you look at looking at it, he doesn't like kill you with the stat line, like as far as tackles go, but you got 1.5 sacks. Technically, I think he probably could have 2.5. I don't think they really counted the bobbled fumble where
that did count as a sack.
Did they count
it
that?
Did
was
go
that
in the books as a
sack? Okay. Well, then there was another one in the second half where I thought I guess he shared it, or was it?
That is correct.
Yeah,
he did share it.
Well, he should have 2 then, instead of 1.5 if we're going to go by the sharing. But be that as
he gets a half for that.
Well, he got 2 halves, did he not? Am I
No.
wrong on that?
He got the 1 sack on the.
All right. Well,
Pribula.
Oh, no. I'm thinking there was a tackle. It was a handoff. Never mind. It was a handoff to tackle. Second was a tackle for loss. There we go. Yep. He's amazing. We were discussing it post game. He needs to be first team all SEC, or at least have some sort of say in it. If he's anything less than second team, I think it's a travesty. I think we were talking about it again. I think David Stone played out of his gourd today. Like, he was awesome. 6 tackles, right? He didn't have a tackle for loss. But the thing was, whenever Pribula broke containment, Zero was there waiting on him saying, "Come here, I got you, brother." And there to stop it. So I thought he played really well. I thought PJ, outside of that stupid, I guess, sideline, which was not.
It was very hard to tell what happened.
He didn't do anything. I'm telling you, the call was stupid. Like, it didn't make it. They were chirping at each other. The tight end chirped at PJ. PJ chirped back. They threw a flag on PJ. There was nothing there. Outside of that, I thought PJ played awesome today. It was probably, I think it was probably his best game of the season. And I don't think he was even close, to be honest.
I think teams are also starting to get the memo. You don't throw at Cortland Guillory.
No, but he didn't play a lot later on.
Later on, we started to see more Davon Jordan.
No, it was Jacoby Johnson.
And Jacoby obviously made it.
The whole second half.
Yeah, but Cortland Guillory hasn't really been challenged the last couple of weeks. And that there's a measure of respect that goes into that from opposing teams. For a true freshman in Guillory, he's played well. Kip Lewis is Kip Lewis. That goes without saying. Thought Kendall Daniels was good again today.
Awesome.
This defense is so deep.
We're talking about
so talented. They flow to the ball. Boganowski, yet another example. He and Powers made
the Bash brothers.
Huge situational plays.
Yeah.
Each had a huge situational play in the second quarter of the football game that enabled Oklahoma to hold serve and maintain that upper hand on Missouri. And that was really, it felt like when Sandell kicked the field goal in the third quarter to give Oklahoma a 2-possession lead, that was going to be more than enough for this defense based on the way that they were playing, and it was. Now, the question becomes, at what point is your luck, or I shouldn't call it luck because it's not luck.
That's who they are at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't phrase it as though at what point is your luck going to run out, because the defense is playing exceptionally well. The special teams unit is playing exceptionally well. But at what point are those 2 units going to blink and you're going to need more from your offense? Because it was yet another very lackluster offensive showing for Oklahoma today, all things considered, outside of the long touchdown from Matirda Satania.
Well, they were, look, Xavier Robinson probably had no business being out there. The fact that we talked about it all week.
He was less than himself.
Yeah.
Credit to him for toughing it out, but he was less than himself.
Let's just say I've talked to some people around him, and they said that he threw the brace on, and BV talked about it in the postgame presser, but he hid the brace as well. Like, you couldn't really tell he had a brace on because of how obviously the all black and all that type of stuff. But yeah, next week they think that he's going to be almost back to normal, should be able to be a lot better. But Oklahoma, you could tell, came into the game saying, we're not going to give the ball to 24. 6 is banged up. His shoulder's banged up. We're going to lay it on 10. And we talked about it this week that that's probably how it was going to be. But good on 24. Good on Xavier Robinson for going out there and toughing this thing out.
He was the only running back that recorded a carry in the game.
Yeah, and the crazy part is that, like I said, the game plan was to limit his touches, and that limits the offense. It limits your RPOs, it limits your play action, it limits your zone reads for, John Mateer. There was a lot of factors that played into OU's lackluster offense, and I think the no run game probably was a lead culprit of that, because Missouri's DNs, where they were just pinning their ears back. Young, dude, he is awesome. He was pinning his ears back, and he was after Mateer all day long. That run game had nothing because he didn't have to worry about it. There was nothing to worry about.
I have no doubt we're going to continue to discuss and debate scheme and play calling and execution and John Mateer's field vision and all of the things for days and weeks to come. But here's the reality for this football team right now. They are a senior day win against LSU next week away from going to the college football playoff, and in all likelihood, hosting a college football playoff game here the weekend of December 19th. They have exceeded expectations in 2025. Maybe it hasn't always been pretty. Maybe it hasn't always been picturesque. But winning, especially in this conference, is a dang hard thing to do. And by hook or by crook, Oklahoma's doing it.
5 ranked wins this year,
most in the nation, by the way.
5 ranked wins. I don't care if they win 3-2 every game. If you win 5 ranked wins and you're 9-2, sitting with home field advantage right now as far as college football playoff rankings go, and you're an Oklahoma fan and you're not thrilled about that, and you're worried about, well, it doesn't matter because they're not going to get past this or that. How do you know? Everybody said that about Tennessee. Everybody said that about Alabama. I mean, like, they just keep doing it over and over and over. They said it about Michigan. It just happens. They win when they're supposed to win. They threw a game away against, Mississippi. And I would say even the Texas game was probably thrown away. They were up the majority of the game until middle of the third quarter. So, like, I look, it's who they are, Parker.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to win. They figured it out. And now you just got to have fun with it. That's what you need to just have fun with it at this point.
On the field, after the game, just conversing with folks associated with the program, what I picked up on is, well, 2 things. One, there is a general sense of frustration with this malaise that seems to have beset the Oklahoma offense. They understand it needs to get better. Everybody does. Yeah. Everybody understands Oklahoma needs to start playing better offense in order to truly compete on a championship level. But there's also an optimism, Brandon, and it's not a blind optimism because we've seen this offense clicking before.
Yeah.
We've seen this offense firing before. We saw it early in the season, I should say. It's been a little while, but we know what this offense is capable of. We know what John Mateer is capable of when he's playing his best ball. And trust me, there's an awareness right now in that building that if and when Oklahoma starts playing that type of offense again, this is a team that can beat anybody in the country.
What team in the last 12 months went through something very similar, ended up playing for a national title last year?
You're talking about Notre Dame?
Notre Dame. Does this team not resemble a Notre Dame of 2024 so much? Defensive.
I'll tell you what this team resembles. The Iowa of the late 2010s, early 2020s.
Yeah, but with less.
Devastating defense.
Far more talent.
Devastating defense that, on any given Saturday, as long as the offense just does enough, they're going to win a football game.
Yeah, but I'm talking, they have the athletes. That's where I'm coming with this. Like, it reminds me of Notre Dame last year. a very similar quarterback, run heavy, kind of can get down with the power game. The second, they got comfortable with the passing game, they were hard to beat. They were hard to beat. And I think that's what it's going to come down to is the second John Mateer finally gets comfortable again, this team could be playing late into January. Let's just say that they have that type of talent. Now, I'm not saying they're going to play for national title. I'm saying if they can play complementary football, and they have the capability of doing that.
Oklahoma is an imperfect team,
Very imperfect.
but there are 105 guys on that roster right now who are fighting like hell to keep this magical run going. Again, folks, it is hashtag Red November, and it is real, and it is spectacular. The Sooners, 3-0 in the month of November, 9-2 overall, one final regular season win away from going to the college football playoff. We will be back here next Saturday, right here at Owen Field, as the Sooners try to knock off LSU, get to that double-digit win threshold, and secure their playoff berth. For Brandon Drum, I am Parker Thune. We will see you then. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already, and certainly subscribe at OUinsider.com. Just $1 for your first week. That's the best way to support our work and get the best OU football and recruiting intel you'll be able to find anywhere on the internet. Until next Saturday, folks, take it easy.